All right, sports fans, glad you joined us again. Across the line, we're joined by the new head coach of the UNB Reds basketball program, friend of the show. Good to see him back from his coaching stint here with the National Syrian team, Joe Salerno. Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, appreciate it. Always great to chat with you, and appreciate you making some time here to join us here. I know you've been on, this is probably your fourth or fifth time, so a long-time friend of the show, and certainly excited to hear the news here that you're making your way back to New Brunswick to take over one of the most, I guess, renowned basketball programs here in the East Coast, the UNB Reds.
Yeah, no, really excited about it. For myself, my time with Syria, I mean, absolutely loved it. It was an incredible experience. And, I've always been kind of striving to reach that international basketball scene. And, once I got there, it was, it really kind of hit me. This may not be right for me. It was really difficult being away from my family. And, I have two young children that kind of need dad around. So to have an opportunity to coach basketball here, again, at a high level, staying in New Brunswick, it's just, it's really kind of a perfect fit.
Yeah, well, I wanted to ask you about, obviously, coaching a national team here in Syria, that opportunity during a global pandemic. I don't know if that was the most pressing issue on your mind when you were over there, or what. Obviously some challenges, I'm sure, coaching in that environment with what's going on in the world and what was going on, in your environment there. So, any wild stories here from that experience overseas?
I mean, yeah. I spent. I spent a few months in Syria, and I don't think many people can say they've done that. Also we held a training camp in Russia. We played games in Doha, Qatar. I was in Turkey. I was really kind of all over the place. And, traveling with the pandemic, it was difficult. It was extremely difficult at times. A lot of kind of isolation periods. And, I've had 19 COVID tests now. So, it's become very familiar with me. But, like I said, though, overall, man, it was just an absolutely incredible experience. And really, the people of Syria are really some of the most kind, caring, grateful people I've ever met. And having an opportunity to coach those guys who, they haven't had an American head coach in Syria since 2003. So it was a really big deal for them. And it was just an incredible opportunity. And, I love those guys. I love that team.
Well, and I guess you guys had not pulled off, but a couple upsets here on the national stage. It seemed where you basically upset 22nd ranked Iran here in one of your tournaments. So maybe, like you said, I think you guys were ranked maybe in the 90s, but you definitely got those guys to play maybe over their heads or improved the caliber over there in Syria while you were there.
Yeah, I like to think so. They've been playing a certain style of basketball for a long time. They've actually kind of been under a Serbian influence.
Okay.
The previous couple national team coaches have been from Serbia. But, really, with everything that's been going on in the country of Syria, for really the last decade, the development of players there has really almost come to a stop. Lack of facilities, lack of coaches. It's also still a very dangerous part of the world. So I like to hope that I was able to make some improvements during my time with the team. And, the upset over Iran was something Syria had never done. They had never beaten Iran in international play. At the time was, I think, the number 2 ranked team in all of Asia. So it was a big deal. And, I think maybe 6 hours after that game, within 6 hours, I had about 7,000 new Instagram followers from Syria. It was pretty crazy. Cool experience.
Blowing up, yeah, beautiful. Wow, well, that's. And I want to ask you, that's a great experience being able to coach a national team at that level. You being originally from Vermont, is this going to be your first college, university sort of coaching opportunity?
Yeah, it is, which I'm really excited about. I started my coaching career what feels like decades and decades ago at the high school level. And, when I first started coaching high school, my aspirations was always to coach, NCAA basketball or university basketball in general. So, 16, 17 years later, I kind of find myself there, and I'm just so looking forward to it. To be able to have players for 3, 4, 5 years, in a university setting and really watch them develop on the court and off the court is something I'm just really excited about, because at the professional level, it's such a strong turnover rate every year. this really allows me to really kind of help some players grow. And yeah, I'm super excited about the opportunity.
Well, and like you said, being able to develop these players over 4 years, it's not, they're coming in for 3 weeks before the playoffs, trying to learn the system, coach them up. So, like I said, recruiting will be a big part, but being able to have these players to develop for that length of time and not just shuttling, are they going to a European league after this? Or, in the NBL, it's sort of, I guess some of the players were in and out a fair bit. So your game plan, I guess, for developing some of these players, especially having a 4 to 5 year window here to get that done.
Yeah. And I mean, it'll certainly be a different game plan. And from the recruiting standpoint, basketball, especially in Canada, I mean, it's a small world. I mean, it really is a pretty tight-knit community. It's very rare you meet somebody who doesn't know somebody that you already knew. So really kind of starting to establish that recruiting network from the current network I have in Canada is something, I've already started to do. So that's kind of exciting. It's meeting a lot of new people and establishing a new network. But as far as developing players, to get a 18, 19-year-olds right out of high school, and then really, teach them, the next level of play, it's exciting. It will be different, but, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, the AUS historically, been a hotbed here for basketball. Fredericton, a great basketball community that's supported the Reds here for years. Probably the Cadillac of the programs in the country comes out of Carleton with Dave Smart. What do you see sort of modeling or trying to become, I guess, the premier basketball program here out east?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was, in part of the interview process, which was a lengthy process. I was really impressed with how thorough it was and how many different people, of importance that I spoke with at UNB. But, part of my kind of long-term vision was, really becoming the premier destination for student athletes to come and play basketball at UNB. I mean, the Curry Center is, I saw it for the first time last week. I kind of got my tour of the school, and the Curry Center and the training facilities that they have specific for their varsity athletes at UNB, is unmatched anywhere in the AUS. And I would put it up against any, facility in the country. So it's absolutely, it has the potential to be that premier destination. And, now we just want to put some wins on the board and try to win a couple more AUS titles in that process.
Well, if you get a chance, the Curry Center, obviously, great facility. If the LBR is still standing next door, check out the pit where the program used to play out of. That had quite the atmosphere as well, where you're sort of, the fans are almost on top of you. They'll get a little rowdy and raucous some nights. But like you said, a great atmosphere for basketball in Fredericton, a great community to support it. And another big part that used to be, I guess, in the AUS was the AUs and CIs that when they used to be in Halifax, which was a great basketball weekend in the Maritimes. But like you said, getting the players here are going to be your first step. You're used to recruiting, in Vegas tournaments and in Asia. Where's the recruiting process start during a pandemic? Going across Canada to bring in some talent.
Well, it starts online, just like this, like you and I are talking. But I think, like I said, it really starts with kind of building that network of a lot of prep schools, the CJAP programs in Quebec. I still have an awful lot of ties in the United States as well from just people that I've met over the years. So, it's been reaching out, and, it's interesting. Like, I've reached out to a couple of my former Magic players who are now coaching high school. For example, Jason Kris, 3-year player of mine, he's now a high school coach in Scarborough. Corey Allman is now coaching for one of the best AAU programs in the Northeast, the City Rocks. So just, again, building that network from people you already know starts there. And just looking for some talent like I always do this time of year.
Building the pipeline. That's what I like to hear. You bringing in the talent. Anybody from the NBL still have any eligibility left?
I know. Think about it, right? But you know what? I think we have a great core group of players right now at UNB, and it's really just going to be about adding, 1 or 2 other pieces to really make us a contender this year. in the AUS. Guys like Kris and Eba and Batur Malak. I mean, these guys are already established players in the conference. So to be walking into that and knowing really this year you already have a contender, and if I can just find a couple more pieces, I just like where we're starting at.
Yeah, well, like you said, already inheriting a pretty good program here as it is. Looking to add to that, you pretty much accomplished everything you could in the NBL. Most winningest coach in the NBL, coach of the year, championship here with the Moncton Magic. Bringing that type of pedigree here to the college level, you think that will help attract some players here as well?
I like to think so. I mean, so many players, I think when they're first coming out of high school, they have aspirations to play professionally.
Yep.
I mean, I thought I was going to be in the NBA up until I was about 17 years old, right? So
yep.
I know a lot of other high school kids probably feel the same way. So to have the chance to maybe play under, a former professional coach who's coached so many of those high-level talents, for over a decade, I would think it would be attractive to a lot of great student athletes coming out of high school. So, we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens. But, I'm hoping, some of that carries over and it gets some players excited.
Yeah. Well, you're certainly getting a good tour of the Maritimes as well here. You're in PEI in Charlottetown. Obviously a stint here in Moncton. Now making the move up the road here to the province's capital here, Fredericton. So certainly, glad to see that you're enjoying yourself here in New Brunswick, and look forward to seeing you on the court here in my old alma mater. I got to get up and catch some V-Red games now. Looking forward to seeing you at the Curry Center.
I didn't know that. I didn't know you were a former Red. Like, I didn't know that. I'm excited about that now. So that's great.
Check the walls at the LBR there. There might be a picture or two up. I don't know.
All right. I will. I will do that for sure.
Appreciate it. Well, great seeing you, and all the best. Look forward to seeing you at the Curry Center, and excited to hear that you're now the head coach of the UNB Varsity Reds basketball program.